Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Arcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting
Today we're flying up, up and away. Nope, not with that superhero, with a different one. We are revisiting 1991's The Rocketeer for its 35th anniversary. This is a film I have a huge amount of affection for, and I'm very glad for the opportunity to return to it. And I'm also very glad for the opportunity to have our guest back on, who has joined us on the podcast many times before, most recently to talk about another very off the beaten path superhero, Freakazoid. Please welcome back Tarik Davis.
Ew.
Tarik, I am so glad you picked this, man. This is such a fun movie.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were going to think about it. Yeah, it's one of my faves.
So, we'll start where we always do. Tell the audience about your nostalgic memories of this film and why we're talking about it today.
I mean, this movie came at me at the right time. I think I was in fifth or sixth grade, 1991. And I remember me and my dad, summer of 1991, I remember my dad going to see it. And it was, I have like a list of like my top five, top 10 film going experiences. And this is definitely in one of those experiences. It was just like, I was. I was on board all the way. And it was and it's the other thing was I had no idea what the movie was going to be about. Like you saw the trailer and like you had some sense of like, all right, it's a flying guy. But, unlike Superman, where most people, even the layman who doesn't read comic books, knows the canon of the Superman character, right? You know the canon of Batman. I had no idea what this was going to be, and it was just kind of this like I like to think of the Rocketeer as like it starts off. I feel like it exists in the same world as the Natural, like which is kind of this Rockwell mythical-esque, picturesque version of uh America's yesteryear, that's very idyllic and lovely. Um, Still not a lot of black people, but probably
Were there
better
any in
than
this movie? I kind of noticed.
one.
Yeah. One.
One dude
Okay.
who was told to go fetch a car.
Mhm.
Um, that's it.
So it is the
And
30s. I don't know what you're talking about.
well, I mean, yeah, I want to put a pin on that, but other than that, I mean, it's the movie was just it's just a romp. I fucking and I also I knew who Alan Arkin was, but this was the beginning of like, oh, this is an actor I want to know about. And I kind of credit for my path into the world of theater and comedy and specifically improv because I was like, oh, I love this Peavy character. Who is that? Alan Arkin. I've seen him in other stuff. And yeah, I just love what he brought to the role.
Yeah, he's one of the MVPs of the movie for sure.
Absolutely.
Timothy Dalton as well.
Oh God, yeah.
Crushes, and the whole cast is very good. It's a
It's a
murderer's row.
it's a perfect cast. It's I mean, I dare I say for me, I will say it's a perfect film for me. It's in like one of my like if people ask me for a recommendation of movies they need to see, this is always in the top five. I would also give Billy Campbell, who plays the titular character of the Rocketeer, props. He was supposed to be he. I feel like the story for him is he should have been a much bigger star than he was. Um, but he brings like I feel like it's also credit to the character, how the character of Cliff Secord, the Rocketeer, is written. But Billy Campbell brings this affable, like he's a screw up, but you're never too mad at him. Uh, and he's also inherently a good guy, like which is as simple as that character can be on paper. That's a hard tightrope to act as an actor. Um, to be both like, you say stupid things, but getting the audience to really like you and believe that you are a true blue hero. And Billy Campbell does that with ease, and he's funny and likable, and he's a good pair with Alan Arkin.
I agree with you 100%. Like he is so affable as this character. Like he is exact. Like you can tell they are going for the vibe of like 30s screwball kind of snappy dialogue that's engaging and kind of fun with these characters. Um, putting them through their paces with daring do and stuff, but there's like a panache to Cliff Secord, where you said that you thought this movie existed in the same universe as another film. The one that came to my mind, of course, maybe the obvious one, is Indiana Jones, right? Another character from the
Mm-hmm.
30s up against the Nazis,
Yeah.
and like he's similar to Indiana Jones. Cliff is kind of scrappy. His style is more improvisational. He's not a polished hero. He's good at flying, like that's his skill, but he has no training in like hand-to-hand
Yeah.
combat or stealth or any of these other things he's called on to do. And
No.
his like he's not inept, but he's in out of his depth, and like that adds a lot of fun to it, because otherwise, like, geez, if he was good at everything and like the best looking guy in the world with a magical jetpack and Jennifer Connelly on his arm, like I
Yeah.
couldn't get that excited. It would be hard to get behind him. But because he is like, yeah, kind of like making it up as he goes by the skin of his teeth, that buys him a lot of currency to spend with the audience.
It really does. And yeah, like it's Indiana Jones, definitely I could see. I mean, I think there's a bunch of fan art online and this movie which came out. I mean, and we talked a little bit about this maybe I think I talked about this with you, but in the late 80s after Tim Burton's Batman in 1989, movie studios took the wrong lesson. I think it's the right lesson, but box office receipts say it's the wrong lesson, depending on who you listen to. But instead of being like, "Oh, America is," they are excited for more superhero films with kind of an adult, grounded kind of take to them. Studios were like, "Oh, people really like the gothic, pulpy noir aesthetic. Let's bring out Dick Tracy. Let's bring out the Rocketeer. Let's bring out Phantom. Let's bring out The Shadow with Alec Baldwin. The Phantom with Billy Zane. And yes, I saw all these movies in the theater. I loved them all, and they all kind of exist in my head canon in the same world. Maybe with the exception of Dick Tracy because that one's so cartoony. But it makes sense the studios thought this because the film before even Batman was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which we covered. And I feel like that film doesn't get enough credit for kind of setting this explosion, the small explosion of the late 80s, early 90s, of this revisiting to pulpy, two-fisted heroes taking on Nazis and criminal roughnecks.
Yeah, there's definitely like a period there where you get, including the Indiana Jones films, like there's this
Yeah.
feeling of wanting to kind of look back at the glory days of, World War II and the run up to World War II, where like, part of it's just simplicity of like, hey, we'll make the Nazis the bad guys because, who can't root against that? Well, I know it's 2026, and that feels a little more frustrating to think about. But remember, guys, here's some nostalgia for you. The Nazis used to be unequivocally viewed as the bad guys.
Yeah.
So
Oof.
anyway, actually,
Oof.
we so like yeah, it's like make them your bad guys because then you can pretty much, if you're trying to set up an opposition to your main character, like you can do anything you want to them. If the Nazis are the bad guys, and you never have to bat an eye about like whatever kind of awful thing you're going to inflict upon them or have them do. It's like, sure, they're the blackest black shirts that's ever been. So
Yeah.
it makes things easy from a storytelling perspective. I have fond nostalgic memories of this too. Like I associate this film with two crushes. One, cementing my crush for Jennifer Connelly in terms of celebrity crushes that already began with Labyrinth a few years earlier. The other is little Doug went on his very first like quote unquote date to go see this movie with a girl in my fifth grade class, and so that like I have very fond memories of that. It was adorable, So we had a good time, and so
Nice.
but it's a perfect movie for that, right? Like this is a movie that really is for all ages. 10-year-old could watch it, totally get what's going on, have a great time. An adult will get a lot out of it. It's a perfect like pulpy adventure movie that delivers everything you want on every level. Like no shock that Joe Johnston, who directed this, went on to do Captain America: The First Avenger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which like those two films, you watch those back to back and you can very much tell like it's, kind of corny patriotism that is heartwarming in how sincere it is.
Yeah. It's not ironic, which I will be honest is I love things that are not, that kind of wear their hearts on their sleeve. Um, and to your, not to connect to, yes, I also had a crush on Jennifer Connelly. And my first date film, I took a date to, I think the first date movie I took a date to was um, Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt, starring Jada Pinkett Smith and Billy Zane. Great movie. We should probably talk about that one someday.
I'll file it
Um,
away. We
yeah,
yeah, we've not done Tales from the Crypt on this show, which is an oversight probably.
yeah. They tried to do a cinematic universe. That one, Bordello of Blood, with Dennis Miller, and I can't remember the third. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. Your point about like the black shirts of the Nazis, and what I think also like why they are still are. I'll put my stamp on that. Um, the darkest villains, but also great cinematically as dark villains is it allows your story to go big in a way that is also grounded, really, like in the reality of like, oh yeah, we've seen these bad guys, and we also know. Forget what podcast I was listening to, but it's kind of an expert on kind of just like fascist um, movements. He wanted to really emphasize the point that like people forget that the Nazis were a cult and they had weirdo beliefs, and which is why it works in Indiana Jones of like, of course they're looking for, these cultish artifacts that are ancient and esoteric, right? Like because they all follow this short weirdo with a weird facial hair and believe these weird things, and it's just great as you talked about it as like this American propaganda. It is, but it's I would grade propaganda on levels, and this would be on a level of like enjoyable for everyone, right? Like E for everybody. Like I can get behind a two-fisted everyman who, isn't a weirdo and swept up by dark cultish beliefs and just kind of want to stands for like, hey, we're all in this together and nobody's better than anybody and how they, Indiana Jones takes, I think the difference between the Rocketeer and the Indiana Jones is also an everyman, but he's incredibly intelligent, right? Like his, I feel like the argument for that film is like intelligence plus faith gives you this, the penitent man will pass, right? Like the arguments of those films is because he is not just intelligent, he's also moral and humble. He is able to survive. The Rocketeer is, this guy is a jerk sometimes, but his heart is still really in the good place. He can fly, he's smart that way, but he's not the smartest, like you pointed out. But his heart is in the good place. And that's all Americans want to think about themselves, right? Like, we're not the best, but man, our hearts are in the right place. And you could say that in 1991, and the vast majority would believe that propaganda. 2026, it's a tough sell.
Yeah, we're recording this just after the release of Jim Crow 2.0, so it's not
Yep,
going well here in the States.
it's not going well.
No, but we maybe with a few more Cliff Secords we could do better. But
Yeah,
as you said, like it's one of those things where like setting aside the historical context, it is like I said, is a gift to screenwriting where it's like you have an like you want to have like a bad guy who wants to take over the world or create some sort of hideous science to achieve that goal, or as you said, maybe like the Thule Society to like get their hands on an artifact, and that all seems like very pulpy, but for the fact that no shit, that's what it was in the 40s. We did have a clear good guy, we did have
yeah,
a clear bad guy trying to take over the world with those means. And so when you set a story
yeah,
in that context, like it just gives you this weight of like, yeah, it sounds outlandish and stuff, except it happened, so sure, I totally buy that the Nazis would want to get their hands on this magic jetpack that is the MacGuffin of the movie. um
yeah,
but yeah.
exactly. And like, and I don't know if, and I'll describe for
Oh, you've got
people
the
who just
comics,
listen.
cool.
Yeah, I kind of dusted this off for this episode. This is the graphic novel of The Rocketeer, The Great Race, but the reason I pulled this one out is it has a great um, history of the creator of The Rocketeer, Dave Stevens. And Dave, if it's all these artists who work with him in like the late 70s, early 80s. He passed away, I think about maybe 10 years ago. I'm not sure. Um, but was incredibly well liked. But the picture that the story paints, all these artists and writers who worked with him, is that he was Cliff Secord. Like he was, a young kind of, a young, innocent, imperfect, didn't look before he leaped, but had a lot of passion and a lot of talent as an artist and creator, and uh, struck gold with this creation of the Rocketeer in the 80s.
And he has
Um,
a very fun cameo in this movie. You
mm,
have to know where to look. I'll point it out when we get there, but he does have a
please, yeah.
very small but memorable moment in this movie. Um, so let's get this going here.
Yeah.
Let's blast off. So we open on this airplane hangar being opened at what we'll later learn is Bigelow Airfield, where these guys work. Um, and this crew,
To an incredible score, by the way.
James Horner, yeah, always reliable James Horner. Good with patriotic things too, in general.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
say he did like Glory or some other like patriotic movies. I can't remember which one specifically, but
He did
um,
Glory. I think he also did Titanic, which isn't patriotic, but
no,
like,
but certainly a well-regarded
sweeping,
score.
big
Yeah,
sweeping scores.
right. And we watch their crew. They bring out this beautiful yellow biplane, or not a biplane, just a propeller plane. These guys are all these like single pilot propeller
Yeah.
planes of the 30s. And we meet Peeve, who is Alan Arkin, as you said. He's kind of the Q for this movie.
Hmm.
He's the guy who understands all the tech, and he's telling Secord, their ace pilot here, about how this plane is finicky. And Secord takes his chewing gum out as like a signature thing. He puts it on the tail of the plane, and they're talking about like, oh, let's make history. They want to use this plane for some kind of an aerial competition. We don't really see it, but we understand that there's some kind of competition going on, and this is their ticket to fame and glory through this plane. And he takes out a picture of Jenny, that is Jennifer Connelly, Betty in the comics, but they changed her name to Jenny. I think they were worried about comparisons to Betty Grable, something like that. And so
there were a few, and I think there were also maybe Betty Page at the
Oh,
time.
Betty Page. Sorry, not Betty Grable. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, Betty Page. She wanted to. I think there was. She didn't want her. By that point, she didn't want to be known as Betty Page anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there were issues with her, like even though it's a different actress, it's still technically her name and likeness, and I think there were like legal issues around that.
Yeah, they do kind of look fairly similar, the
Hmm.
two of them, especially with the putting Jennifer Connelly in the very 30s hair and styling and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and so he puts the picture of her into the cockpit, puts on his goggles, and he takes off to fly around. And we're told it's Los Angeles, 1938, so the year before the war begins, and I believe the year between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. It's right between those two.
Yep.
Um, and we cut from this idyllic, flyboy stuff to an action sequence of a police pursuit.
Yeah. Also, I'll probably say this a few times, just talk about how great the casting is. But like even the feds, the gangsters, everyone they have, like everyone knows, like they know how to chew the dialogue and scenery like rubber. Like everyone knows the lingo. All right, Skip.
Everyone sounds like Cagney, yeah.
Yeah, everyone. They even mentioned Cagney in the film. Like everyone's playing that to the hilt. There's these gangsters being chased by the feds, firing back their Tommy guns against the feds and their standard issue and these dusty fields as Cliff is flying overhead during this firefight between the feds and this gangster who's got a mysterious briefcase with him in the car.
Yeah, it says like authorized personnel only or something on it. So we can tell like that's the thing he's
Right.
fleeing with to protect. People are getting it on both sides. Secord's plane takes a few bullets and begins to crash. And eventually, the goon in the car manages to get clear of the feds. The feds get stuck in like this V-shaped tree, kind of in the middle of it. That gives him enough time to
Yeah.
get away. He gets over to the airplane hangar, and no one's in it because they were all out dealing with Cliff and his flying, so no one's home.
Yeah.
We don't quite see it, but we'll understand as he sees this like weird metal looking component, and he swaps that for what we'll later learn is the X3. That's the jetpack at the heart of the
Yeah.
movie.
And I think the thing he swaps it for is a vacuum cleaner.
That's what
Uh,
it is. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
it was
30s.
it was
It doesn't look like any vacuum cleaner anyone alive knows or would recognize.
no, like yeah, 13-year-old Tarik was like, "Oh, if I wish we had that was that a real vacuum cleaner? Do they sell them? Are they cheap? Because I know what my Halloween costume for that year was going to be." Anyway, um, yeah, the criminal swaps out um the rocket the jetpack for this vacuum cleaner, puts it in his briefcase, hides the jetpack, and gets back in the car. His buddy is dead, uh, been shot by the feds. The feds are back on the pursuit, and Cliff, who's overhead, he's been, he got nicked, his plane at least, so he's having problems staying in the air as the criminal tries to drive away as being chased by the feds on the airplane runway.
Right. The Cliff ultimately has to, bring this plane in for a landing so bumpy that basically it destroys the plane. He's lucky to walk away from this crash. And the goon, he jumps out of the car at the last minute, which heads off on its own power and hits this tanker full of gas or something, which just goes up in a huge fireball.
The second there, that's the first of two or at least three tankers that are just minding their business and get exploded for no good reason.
Yep.
But there are a lot of good Indiana Jones Disney stunt show effects um, in this sequence, like the airplane as Cliff is trying to land his propeller plane. Like it's not miniatures. They got a real pilot. The landing gear of the plane gets clips the goon's car, and so he's got one wheel, and then he's got to manage like Launchpad McQuack his crash. Um,
Any crash you can walk away from.
Great impression,
Thanks.
Mr. McD.
Can do, Mr. McD.
Uh, fucking love Launchpad. Anyway, yeah, Cliff crashes, PV and the rest of the air team are all on the tarmac or runway with their fire extinguishers. They get Cliff out. Um, they're all afraid that the plane is going to explode. But Cliff runs back because he has to get his picture of his sweetheart, which is still in the cockpit.
Right.
Um, and all their hopes are dashed because
That picture will be plot important later.
it would be very important, that picture. But all, PV and Cliff and the team, they're all upset. Like this was a year's work. They were hoping like this is how they make their living. They were going to try to like, they're instead of a race car, it's a plane and they race. And all their savings and all their money was, for this new plane to go into the nationals. And now that's not going to happen because of the feds effect, because of the FBI effectively ruining this guy's chance. And the FBI continue to not be helpful.
No, that's what they bring up to the FBI is they're saying like, who's going to compensate us for our wrecked plane? And the FBI is kind of like, well, sorry, you're SOL, get a real job. And that leads to an almost fist fight. Cliff gets in one good punch. They're both pulled apart. And I like that at least the other FBI agent's like, well, you kind of had that coming. He knows like you were a dick about this. That's not their fault either.
Yeah.
But they go to talk to
that was the great character actor Ed Lauder, this FBI agent Ed Finch, who says, "Get a real job." Ed Lauder passed away like in 2013, but he's one of those actors. If you grew up watching movies, or even if you watch movies that took place in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, he was in every movie. Like just a tall, lanky, tough looking guy. Um, I still remember him from the episode of the X-Files where he was the astronaut who gets possessed by an alien's ghost. I don't know if you remember that one, but yeah, great character actor. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those guys in there. There's one that the guy because we covered Sneakers a while back. One of the guys from that movie is in this. So there's a bunch of these like recurring like character actors, just faces if you watch TV and movies in the late 80s and early 90s. Like
John Polito is another one. You probably don't know the name. He also passed away not that long ago, but you've definitely seen him. He talks like this.
He's the guy in the Big Lebowski who comes in, who's towards the end of the movie, and he's like, oh man, you're a fella Seamus, like that guy. Really great character actor. We'll meet him in a minute. He's the Bigelow that the airfield is named after. But before that happens, the feds go to talk to the goon who was in the pursuit, who's on a gurney now, and he basically tells them the package you're looking for is blown to hell. And they pull what we know is a vacuum cleaner out of the wreckage or whatever. And they're like, well, that must be the gizmo. That's it. And we cut over to this hangar that's some kind of like an advanced aeronautics lab. And we meet Terry O'Quinn, who most people know from Lost as John Locke. He is playing Howard Hughes, a non-OCD ridden Howard Hughes. No Kleenex boxes on his feet or urine jars or anything.
No, this is more in line with the Tony Stark or Tony
Howard
Stark's
Stark,
father,
really.
Howard
Yeah.
Stark. Yeah, like 1930s, very focused and intentional, and also I would say perfect casting.
He's
Terry
so perfect.
O'Quinn,
Yeah.
he's he like I would say between so you named Alan Arkin, Timothy Dalton's an MVP. I would say Terry O'Quinn's coming in there, and Paul Sorvino uh, as the mob boss Valentine. All of they're like the racehorses for me that keep like edging each other out of this. Like, I love this person in this scene right now. But yeah,
Yeah, nobody turns in a bad performance. Like everybody's awesome. And so, but Hughes is talking about like the destruction of the X3. That's the technical name for the jetpack. What happened to it. And he basically says, well, it's better that it's lost than it's in the wrong hands. And the feds ask, well, how soon can you build us a new one? And he's like, I'm not building a new one. This thing is too dangerous to fall into the wrong hands. Basically, Washington wants to turn anything that flies into a weapon. He says, and he reminds them, I don't work for the federal government. I am a private contractor, and I cooperate with the government at my own discretion. And he
yeah,
mentions that like 2 of the test pilots for this thing were killed in the testing of it.
yeah. Aside, this was if you are a fan of the Rocketeer, you probably already know this, but Howard Hughes originally wasn't supposed to be the inventor of the X3. The original inventor of the X3 was supposed to be another two-fisted pulpy hero from the 20s and 30s, and that was Doc Savage.
Oh,
And it was supposed to
interesting.
be Doc Savage who created the jetpack. But for whatever reason,
Probably
uh,
rights reasons.
yeah, yeah, it's not used in the movie. But I also, in my head canon, uh, he's still. I think Howard Hughes and Doc Savage they collaborated. They both were like, you know, on the phone talking about, what happens if we put a rocket in the guy's back? What do you think happens after that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, he
Like,
literally burns his ass off. Is I think what happens. Yeah.
yeah, we got to put it like a mud flap in there, or something.
Well, speaking of that voice, we cut over to Otis Bigelow. That's John Polito, who does talk that way.
A fellow Seamus.
Yeah. And he's real pissed because that truck that blew up in that huge fireball was his truck.
Yeah.
And he blames Cliff for this. Why? Definitely not his fault. But he says he expects payment. These guys are renting this stuff, the airfield from him. And he's like, you got to pay me. He said, why don't you go do the old clown act? And they're like, oh, man, we don't do that old bullshit anymore. And Cliff's basically like, well, I'm a pragmatist. Maybe we got to do it. And the first show is at 9. And they're like, all right, well, we'll find it. We'll use one of our old planes. We'll do it. And as this is happening, he notices that there's something under the seat in the plane. And what's in it? It's the X3.
Clown act. Good thinking, Clifford. You just set us back about 4 years. Plus which, Miss Mabel over here is a flying coffin. You said so yourself.
Evie, she never let us down before. Besides, I'll go real easy on her.
Number 5 piston is shot, nothing left of her but spit and baling wire.
I could fly a shoebox if it had wing speed.
Ow! What? What's the matter?
I don't know, there's something under the seat.
It's my duffel bag. What do you got in there?
I don't know, but it's heavy. Here, Pete, clean that table up.
All right. Open her up. Oh my. What do we got here?
Here, take the bag.
Well, that's a piece of work, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you suppose it is, a bomb or something?
Too complex to be a bomb. I don't see any moving parts. I wouldn't touch that if I were you.
It's the X3. He sits down. Luckily, he's with basically, a poor man's Albert Einstein, which is PV, right? Like you pointed it perfectly by calling him Q, but PV understands all things machines, and they take it out, and at first they don't understand it, and Cliff says, "Is it a bomb?" Which I was like, that's actually a really good guess, all
It's
right?
not
Which
far
doesn't
off.
It's not far off, which doesn't follow through what Cliff does next, but PV's response is, no, it's too complex to be a bomb. But there's like a cord attached to the engine of this rocket with a button that Cliff just like don't do like presses.
Hmm.
And PV Ray is like, I wouldn't touch that. And the jetpack, the X3, like a bullet, takes off inside the hangar. And only because it's like lodged in between some junk. It's a bullet going off, ricocheting off of every surface, and it gets lodged in between some junk
It's like
and
in a chair. It like hits the back of a chair and like it's kind of up against the wall and like they're lucky. Yeah, it can't. Physics has stopped it from ricocheting further, but it's still on. Like it's still blasting flames out the back.
yeah, and they have to find it. They have to get a broomstick just to get close to turn off the ignition. To which PV smells the fumes in the air. And he's like, "Oh, it runs on alcohol."
And the other
Uh,
thing they notice is that the housing of it is still cool, despite it
yeah,
being a giant fireball.
yeah, it's
And
got a dual exhaust, which and unlike in the comics, it's literally a single exhaust rocket that Cliff puts on his back, but they changed and they created one that they were going to use like a full, prop. It looks beautiful, the comic accurate jetpack that the Rocketeer is supposed to wear. I think someone, and I would say correctly, made a different choice. Because I never like to me aesthetically, I don't like the original rocket that he wears. It's just a little goofy. But the dual exhaust silver jetpack that he wears is just a little, it's prettier to me and it just like makes more sense.
yeah, it's a
Anyway,
great prop. Like
great prop.
it's yeah, it looks beautiful. It's got that like 30s aviation kind of look to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's yeah, perfect for the assignment here. And Cliff notices that it has straps on it. And he puts it on, and it's obvious what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, so, cut to later that night, they are at Lucky Lindy's flight school, and so they cut down the statue of Charles Lindbergh. Where we see it's going to ultimately be used as a crash test dummy, which
Yeah.
seems like there might be an easier way to do that, but okay, it's funny.
Yeah. It's a very funny bit. They go out to a cornfield after strapping this, rocket to the statue. I think it's a wooden statue of Lindbergh. They saw it
Yeah.
off.
Well, before we get to the actual test, we cut away from this for a minute.
All right.
We're going to go to meet the person you had mentioned before, Paul Sorvino, who's playing Eddie
Yeah.
Valentine. He's the head.
Eddie Valentine.
He's a mafioso type, organized crime from the 30s, and he's talking to Neville Sinclair, played by Timothy Dalton. This is a stand-in for Errol Flynn, this dashing movie star of the 30s. And apparently, I found this. So there was a biography that was released of Errol Flynn that alleged that he was a Nazi spy,
Right.
and that was around during the development of this film. And I think it got debunked about like 2 or so years before the movie actually came out. But the concept of like the dashing Hollywood star that everyone loves secretly being in league with Hitler is a very compelling, cool idea for a story. So they kept it in.
Yeah, it's a very cool conceit of like, oh, your smooth, suave, swashbuckling hero who's already European, but like, the later iteration of Sean Connery, uh, Errol Flynn was this who also inspired one of my like very favorite films, My Favorite Year, which I don't know if we've ever talked about. Um, oh God, we got to talk about My Favorite Year. Uh, Basically, she's starring Peter O'Toole and the actor who plays Larry Appleton on Cousin Larry on Perfect Strangers, whose name I'm forgetting right now. Anyway, basically, where I'm digressing, talking about a whole other movie, but I highly recommend anybody go see My Favorite Year, basically about Errol Flynn appearing on the proto Saturday Night Live show of shows hosted by Sid Caesar, and being friends with Mel Brooks. That's what the movie's about. Um, but in this, Errol Flynn, Nelson Clare is a bad guy, and he's living in the ultimate bad guy house.
Yeah, it's the apartment that's
He's living
from Blade
in
Runner. Yeah.
from Blade Runner. I believe it's a Frank Lloyd Wright house. And there's the Ennis house. It's also there's a great podcast called Root of Evil where these two women, this is going to connect. These two women, they basically found out that their grandfather was the Black Dahlia murderer. And it's pretty, by the end, it's pretty, the evidence is pretty unequivocal. Like it was their grandfather, and he lived in the Ennis house. He bought the Ennis house. And like it's a very spooky. Now that I know that, and I know like he lived in that house and did spooky, horrible things in that house, I can't help but to tie that with the evil of Neville Sinclair and the Nazis and the secret compartments in that same Frank Lloyd Wright house. Sorry, we went dark there for a moment, but you don't come here for the light stuff. You come here to get fed. We feed you with information.
I love this.
So
That's a really cool story. Because Deckard in Blade Runner is probably the only like hero I can imagine in this location, because this location has been used in many movies, and generally it's sinister.
Very sinister, yeah.
Yeah, very recognizable piece of architecture. And anyway, so they're talking about this package that we understand that like Neville's the guy who wanted to get his hands on it. Eddie was the guy who was supposed to get it for Neville. And now Eddie's like, listen, now that some of my dudes are dead or in the hospital, like you got to start telling me what's up with this assignment. And he explains, it's a rocket. That's what we're trying to get our hands on. And who knows what happened to it? Well, Wilmer knows. That's the guy who was on the gurney. And so Neville says, I'm going to go down to the hospital and talk to him. They're like, no, you can't do that. You're a movie star. That would look weird. Why is a movie star coming down to the hospital to talk to a gangster? I'll go, or I'll send somebody. And Sinclair he's like practicing fencing, and he puts the sword to Eddie's throat, and he's just like, I need the rocket, right? Get it to me and I'll double your price. Yeah. So we already go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, it's a very tense relationship between Neville Sinclair and Eddie Valentine and his gangsters. Like, it's a relationship of convenience and pay, but Eddie doesn't like him. And Neville doesn't like Eddie. Like, they are, like you said, he puts a sword to Eddie's throat. And Paul Sorvino, who one of my favorite actors, but is also just like a formidable big guy, instead of being scared or warming away, it's like, all right, well, now you're going to triple my price to find this rocket for you.
Yeah, it's an uneasy alliance, to be sure. That's going to pay dividends later. So that's kind of where we leave it with them. As we cut back to, as you said, this first test flight where they strap the X-3 to the Lucky Lindy statue, and they send it flying into the air, and it just takes off into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Turn her off! Boy, that must have woke up the whole valley. Pick her up. Come on, let's get out of here.
Peavy, you'd pay to see a man fly, wouldn't you?
Ha! You gotta be out of your mind.
Look, I'm talking about making some real money here, Peavy. Not just $10 a show, but enough to get us back on our feet and into the Nationals.
Are your eyes painted on, Clifford? This thing's like strapping nitroglycerin to your back. Besides, the feds are mixed up in this.
I don't want to keep it. I just want to borrow it for a while.
Clifford, when you borrow something, you don't tell nobody. They call that stealing, you know.
Just a couple of weeks. As soon as we can afford a new plane, we'll give it back, I swear.
Clifford, did you see what this thing did back there?
Well, you're always telling me what a genius you are, Peeve. Fix it.
We're gonna need one hell of a lawyer. Hey, we're gonna need a helmet.
But they're very lucky. It comes almost straight back down. It could have landed anywhere.
Well, they try to chain the statue to a spike in the middle of a cornfield or just an open field, and the jetpack is so powerful it breaks free of the spike and chain.
Right.
And yeah, and they think it's gone, but like you said, it comes back and kind of crashes like Superman's rocket into this field. Um, the jetpack is still intact. However, when they lift the Lindy statue up, the head is not. And Cliffy smartly says, oh, I think we're going to need ourselves a helmet.
Actually, what Peep says is, we're going to need one hell of a lawyer. And Cliff says, yeah, and a helmet. Because
you're gonna get that lawyer line in there.
Oh yeah, no, but because they're saying they're talking about like, well, we can use that. Maybe we don't have a plane, but we can fly this, and people will pay to see it. The other thing I did, we skipped over, is Neville made a call there to who he wants to go send to the hospital to deal with Wilmer, and we just see this silhouetted guy listening to opera named Lothar, who takes a call. We're going to get a much better look at Lothar as we go, but this is a great element to this movie. Very pulpy comic element.
And we can talk about the real inspiration for Lothar. And like, Rondo Hatton, right? Like we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a very important part to call out, as well as the fact, like the thing about the lawyer bit and why I love this movie and why The Rocketeer, you've never been to my abode, but I have kind of I've had this thing since the movie came out, but it's always been with me, this kind of.
Oh, that's cool. It's our audience can't see it,
statuette.
But like almost an action figure, but it's more of a statue. Yeah, but it looks perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I call it my Rocketeer Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a dork. I've always loved the movie. Sue me. But the reason I think the Rocketeer might be my favorite superhero is because he's completely accidental. Like, there's no intention. These guys don't find the jetpack and go like, now we can fight the Nazis or we can fight crime. They're like, hey, we can make a buck. Like, hey, like, it's only through by accident, through happenstance, that Cliff ends up becoming a hero. But I'm like, oh man, how many accidental superheroes, like Spider-Man, I guess he's bitten by a spider, but like the idea that you literally trip into it, and it's not this,
it's not a calling.
Not a calling, not Bruce Wayne, moodily kind of just sitting alone at night looking for a bat to crash through his window. It's, who knew? Which I think is just brilliant.
Well, now we get to meet Jenny in the flesh. She is getting ready for her date with Cliff. She lives at some sort of like apartment building / boarding house. Don't know what it is, but there's like a matron there who like kind of looks after the girls, and Mrs. Pye is her name. And so Cliff shows up, and she says like, oh, well, there's no gentleman after 6 p.m. And he says, well, I'm no gentleman. And he's like, clearly, like there's your 30s, snap crackle dialogue.
Evening, Miss Pye.
You know my rules. No gentleman after 6 p.m.
Well, I'm no gentleman.
You can say that again.
Hello.
Hi.
Good night, Mrs. Pye.
Have a good time, dear. If he tries anything, deck him. And don't forget the curfew. I lock up at 11 sharp.
Yes, Warden.
Cliff, guess what? I think I got the part.
That's great.
I won't know for sure till tomorrow, but the director said that he liked my reading the best.
Oh, you mean you have lines this time?
Just one. But it's to Neville Sinclair.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Oh, my prince, would that you drink of my lips as deeply.
And then he kisses you.
No. He's too busy killing someone. Now you tell me.
What?
The maiden voyage. How'd she fly?
She flew great. Landing had a few bumps. Hey, we better scram if we're gonna catch this Cagney movie.
It's my turn to pick.
Uh-oh.
There's a new Neville Sinclair movie.
Oh, Jen, you know Cagney's better. I mean, come on, you won't catch Cagney lounging around his penthouse in his underwear or walking poodles in the park or doing any of that
Or getting shot down behind enemy lines.
What are you talking about?
The movie, Wings of Honor.
Neville Sinclair?
Uh-huh.
Oh, brother.
And so they leave, and Jenny's talking about her struggles, which is she's trying to make it as an actress. And she's got this audition, and she's only got one line to say, but it will be to Neville Sinclair. And the line is, "Oh, my prince, would that you drink of my lips as deeply." And Cliff is like a little jealous. Oh, then he kisses you? And it's like, well, actually, he's in the middle of killing someone else, so no.
Yeah.
And they decide to go see a Neville Sinclair movie, even though Cliff wants to go see Cagney. But she insists on seeing this film, Wings of Honor.
Yeah.
And they go to the movie, and we get a newsreel about the Nazis, and they're sending this Nazi Zeppelin across America on a goodwill tour. Because remember, this is a year before the war actually begins in earnest in Europe. So, and we're warned, the Zeppelin is filled with hydrogen, so don't blow it up. And that's everybody would know that anyway, because the Hindenburg was the year before.
Yes, nice way to plant that seed in the minds of the audience. Also planting the seed that like Cliff, he's not a fan of Hitler. It's like a small line, he wants peace or something. He's like, oh, he want more like a piece of the world, that guy.
Yeah.
Like you start to see like, oh, it's not quite the pointed Nazis. I hate these guys that Indiana Jones has, but Cliff is not a fan, which is, it's what's the trope? Save the cat, and
Right.
screenwriting for your hero character. I think maybe secondary to that is like hate the Nazi. Like you want to get people on your character side, let them not like Nazis on screen.
Yeah. Not a stretch. You're not supposed
Not
to
a
be
stretch.
hard. Not a hot take. The Nazis are bad. Anyway.
Not a hot take. We need more of it. Apparently.
Yeah. So we go to the hospital at night, and we see a shadow on the wall. This is Lothar, played by Tiny Ron Taylor. Not tiny at all, of course. This guy is a giant lummox of a guy.
Yes.
And he slinks into Wilmer's room. He uses a chair to bar the door, while security and the nurse are outside listening to a radio show. And the guy wakes up, and Lothar interrogates him, wants to know where the rocket is. And he says he only answers to Eddie Valentine. And so Lothar uses a little force to get him to spill the beans. And by the time the nurse and the security hear the screaming and make their way in, they burst in. Lothar is actually, he's slunk out of the window on the side of the building, and Wilmer is dead, all strung up. But it's our first good look at Lothar. And like, dude, Tiny Ron Taylor, he's terrifying. I have no idea if he's one of these guys like Andre the Giant, where like he would have been a sweetheart in real life, but like scares the shit out of me in this movie. He's very intimidating.
Yeah, and he's wearing they make Tawny out to look like this actor who had the unfortunate I forget the name of I'll see if I can pronounce it, Agromag agromegaly. Sorry, agromegaly. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it basically distorts the shape of your face that this real live guy named Rondo Hatton had. But instead of that being just the horrible tragedy, it actually worked in his favor because Universal Studios used Hatton as an actor in his features to promote him as a horror star. And he appeared in the Hoxton Creeper and the ninth Sherlock Holmes film in 1944, House of Horrors, The Brute Man. He did a bunch of films before his death in 1945. But in that short period, like became this iconic creeper, and named Lothar, and they basically just pulled Lothar, and took Tiny and made him look like this actor. You can Google Lothar from the Rocketeer, and then Lothar, the Rondo Hatton creeper, and you'll see like, oh, they did it's perfect makeup, And because Tiny is about 7'1" or something like that, it's just seeing a big man like that creep inside your hospital and not make a sound and then fold the guy in half. It's terrifying.
Yeah, he's like the equivalent again to go to Indiana Jones, like the dude that Indy fights in Raiders, who gets it in the propeller of the plane. They like this bit where like, let's put Indiana Jones up against a guy who's like got like 2.5 feet on him. You know, it's just all meat and muscle. He's kind of that. Although this guy's a little like more noir, creepy, you know, than like he's more slinking around in the shadows and doing this stuff. So he's kind of a boogeyman.
Yeah, he's closer to a Batman villain, like Batman Noir. Batman would fight this guy.
This guy would be like the
even
right
the
hand
first
man
ep-
for Two-Face or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He's we're going a little bit into supervillain territory.
He's the closest thing the movie has to like a true like comic book villain type character. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go over to Cafe Bulldog. This is this restaurant where they spend a lot of time. It is helmed by venerable character actress Margot Martindale, and she's holding court there, and people in the restaurant are laughing about the movie, and because they think it's kind of lame that Neville Sinclair's character is kind of a little too much panache and a little too fey, I guess, or whatever for their tastes. Jenny's defending the film and Sinclair. And this girl comes up to this guy, Malcolm, who's part of like the airfield crew, and asks him to fix a toy plane. And he kind of launches into this boring story, war story from World War I. And Jenny wants to try someplace new. Like, she's tired of going to the same old diner. Like, she wants bigger, better things, and is kind of expecting Cliff to up his game, basically.
Yeah.
You know, Cliff, once in a while it wouldn't hurt to try someplace new. Maybe away from the airfield?
Like where? The Copa? The Brown Derby? Why not the South Seas Club while you're dreaming?
Okay, how about this? We'll go out and have a real night on the town after you win the Nationals.
Yeah. Swell. After I win the Nationals.
You're gonna fly in the Nationals after all? Well, I'm glad to hear it. After that landing today.
How about a warm-up, Malcolm?
Huh?
You said there were a few bumps.
Boy, I'll say. She floated like a kite when she hit the runway. We thought old Cliffy's number was up. What with the fire and all.
I was gonna tell you. I didn't want to ruin your evening.
Thank you. It's very thoughtful of you. You'd rather make a fool out of me?
I'm sorry.
I don't want you to be sorry, Cliff. I want you to stop treating me like a stranger. When something goes wrong, I should be the first one to know about it. I shouldn't be the last.
Jen, everyone knows because they were at the airfield.
I had an audition. It was important to me.
I understand. Just like the last time when I flew the regionals. You got a big part. You stood behind Myrna Loy with a bowl of grapes.
And they're sort of talking about like what went wrong in the airfield, but Cliff hasn't told Jenny how bad the disaster was. So he's trying to kind of dance around this. And she basically finally figures out like, oh, okay, you've omitted all of this key information about, what happened. And she's pissed, and she says, stop treating me like a stranger. I shouldn't be the last one to hear about all this stuff. And she, takes off. And he he kind of gets a dig in at her too. He says something like, I'm tired of you missing my flights to go audition for bit parts. And so, yeah, she leaves, and yeah.
Yeah, he talks about like, your last big part was you standing behind Myrna Loy with a bowl of grapes. And like, that sends Jenny off. To which Martindale says, "We'll go after her, you big dope." Kind of establishing that yes, Cliffy, he says these dumb things. He says them often, but everybody still loves him. And like, man, just go after her, you big dope. Like that's kind of the Clifford energy of who he is. Like he's not, malicious, just the big dope.
Yeah. I really like Margot Martindale here. We watched The Americans recently, and she's a big part of that series.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, like always good whenever she shows up. Like she's just one of those actors, like she's glue. She just, always keeps things together and is such a fun presence. So he's too late. Yeah. Cliff is too late. Malcolm kind of apologizes for his role in this. And Cliff goes, well, it's okay. And he goes back to Peeve, who's working on something. We don't see what it is. And Cliff is saying he can't figure Jenny out because she's part of the Hollywood world. And Peeve says, she really cares about you. And if she flies the coop, it'll be your fault. But the next morning, Peeve is asleep and Cliff comes in and he takes the cloth off of what Peeve was working on. And it's the Rocketeer helmet. And he's like, oh, you got to be kidding. The design on this thing, first of all, comic accurate. The design on it. It's so fucking cool. This like Art Deco helmet with the fin running down the back.
I love it. It's such a... And like, apparently Dave Stevens, creator of Rocketeer, there's a lot of consternation for him creating the helmet on the comic book page because he was like, oh, it's a helmet. It's going to look goofy and it's really big. And luckily he kind of trusted his gut and stuck with the design with the fin and that Art Deco, which just screams like it tells you, there's nothing better than a character design that kind of tells you immediately who the character is, what the character's about without so much, exposition or explanation. I love the helmet so much.
Yeah. And as we'll see, it's practical, right? That fin is actually very important for steering because I think they mentioned that's one of the problems they had is like you have to be able to control where you're going and that it's a rudder. So
it's a rudder. So you gotta, PV says like, you gotta like use your eyes. So if you gotta look to your left or your right, you use your eyeballs. Like you don't turn your head or that's where you're going to go.
Right.
So I'm like, ooh, that's so great.
Yeah. So now we cut to a really fun scene. We go to the set where Neville is shooting his movie and he's, having a sword fight with some guy. It's a lot of back and forth, very Princess Bride, which we covered. They're doing a film called The Laughing Bandit.
Yes.
And we see this actress, we're going through the scene. We're like, okay, where's this going? And we get to the big line that Jenny was supposed to say, but it's not Jenny delivering it. It's this other lady who is terrible.
Oh, my prince, would that you drink of my lips as deeply?
Cut! Back to first position.
Oh, good Lord. Victor, how many times are we going to have to do this?
Listen, sweetheart, acting is acting like you're not acting. So act, but don't act like you're acting. Get it?
All right.
Why don't we try that?
Let's sweep up that area. It's going to redress the stand.
Boy, oh boy, is she a block of wood. Your audition was so much better.
Irma, everybody's audition was better. Does it matter when you're the producer's niece?
So she gets to play a scene with Neville Sinclair, and we play scenery. I love Hollywood.
And we find out that she got the part for nepotism, and Jenny is stuck, holding the bowl of grapes or whatever she's an extra.
Yeah.
And she and her friend grouse about this circumstance. Meanwhile, Cliff comes in backstage, and as he's kind of peeking to try and watch what's happening, the girl eventually on the third or fourth take gets the line right. She says it okay. And, you think that, Neville's like happy. We got the take. Everything's good. But Cliff pushes a little too hard on that set wall and it comes crashing down. At first I love that Neville tries to play this off where he's like, well, let it never be said that Neville Sinclair failed to bring down the house. Like, it's like, everything's fine. But then we find out one of the guys got a sword, he got actually hurt. And this is actually bad. This is for the production.
Yeah. He also accuses, he's stabbed and it's the guy Neville was fencing with. And the guy says, was I upstaging you, Neville? Is that why he did? Mm-hmm. Which it's never, and Neville, he's, get my car, take him to the hospital, and he's playing the hero, but it's never really established or answered, did Neville really stab him because he was being upstaged? Because Neville is evil, but is he that petty and vindictive? Which I think is just a nice unanswered kernel that the movie sneaks in there, kind of like a blade, and I don't know, I love it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some plot important shit's about to happen because Jenny gets fired, and for her role in this, which is basically nothing, but she's taken off the set, kind of into the side part of the studio, and she and Cliff kind of have it out again, and he starts telling her about the X3, and Sinclair is close enough that he can overhear this. And so when Cliff leaves, he pulls Jenny aside and says, "Oh, it's so bad that you were fired," even though he was the one who told them to fire her. He's now going to undo that and do one better. He's, asks her, one, have you read for the part of the princess? And would you like to come to this South Seas club they name checked before for a fancy dinner? And she accepts.
Yeah. And, Neville's suave, but it's also clear. It's like, women had no power in that situation back then. So it's like, I'm firing you. You know what? No, forget it. Now we're going on a date. Which is just like an interesting depiction of the gender dynamic of 1938.
Yeah. And again, watching Timothy Dalton use his like James Bond charm for evil is never anything except totally magnetic. This guy, like, I wish he got to do a few more Bonds. I think, he was a little shortchanged there. I think he's underrated as James Bond. And then the other just awesome performance of his that I have to cite is, of course, Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
Fuck, is he good in that movie?
Yes.
Oh my God. I got to cover that at some point. That movie is so good.
Yeah.
All right. So we go to the planes at the airfield. The crowd's watching the show. Malcolm is selling programs, and Otis is basically yelling at Peeves saying, Cliff needs to be here in 5 minutes and they got to find a new hangar. And meanwhile, Eddie asks his goons how they're doing trying to find the X3 because they're lurking around too, and they haven't found it yet. And they said, well, keep an eye on the girl because she might know.
Yeah.
And Cliff pulls up on a motorcycle and he's like, hey, sorry I'm late, but there's a plane that's already in the air. And they're like, well, and they've already announced that Cliff Secord is flying. It's like, well, then who's in the plane? And it's Malcolm in the clown suit who's trying to help, just trying to do his best, fly to keep the show going.
And they established at the Bulldog Diner that Malcolm was a World War I vet. So, and he's a little shaky.
His story was that he had a confrontation with the Red Baron. So like he is a pilot.
He is a pilot, good guy, but like out of the crew, you got PV and you got a bunch of, these other guys, you're just a random assortment of your pit crew, but for airplane. And Malcolm is the one, he's older. And, he says things. He doesn't read the room so well. He's a little shaky, a little nervous, but his heart's in a good place. And he's trying to, I love the moment, like, Cliff's like, what's he doing up there? And Peavy just says, he's trying to save your job. And this is the accidental superhero moment where Cliff is like, they see the plane is, they see he's struggling. And there's a race going on at the same time, an air race. And if Cliff's plane drifts into the air race, like people are going to get killed, which is what the plane looks like it's about to do. And Cliff is just like, all right, here we go. The rocket is where you left it, right? And runs into the hangar and puts on the rocket and the helmet. And there's a moment I love where Peavy is yelling at him like, what are you can't use that. Like, you don't know how long it's up in the air. Like, this is crazy. And Billy Campbell sells this line where he's just like, cut it out, man. I'm scared enough as it is.
What are you doing?
Doesn't look like I'm doing it. Come on, give me a hand.
No, Cliff, no. For God's sakes, we haven't tested enough. Look what you did to Lucky Lindy.
Cut it out. Cut it out. I'm scared enough as it is.
Okay, listen. I reworked the throttle, so just squeeze her like a gas pedal. And if you want to stop, mash down hard and then let go.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. A little luck.
How do I look?
Like a hood ornament.
And I'm just like, that's like the essence of super heroics. Like the idea that like, look, man, I don't want to do this. Like, but who else is going to do it? Help me out. and it's a great moment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful moment, and as you said, like Peeve is pointing out a number of very critical things. They don't know, like what's its fuel capacity, how long can it stay in the air. They've never had any good flights with it. They've only seen it wreck things. We know as the audience it killed the 2 test pilots. So this is not a reliable piece of technology. He puts a piece of gum on it just because, again, he sticks his gum on whatever he's flying, I guess,
for good luck.
For good luck. And he puts the thing on. He says, "How do I look?" And he says, "Like a hood ornament," which is a great line. And he takes off and he shoots out over the field. Everybody sees this. There's news reporters, seeing it. And he bursts Cliff, but Cliff is not, he's never flown it before. He's not great at it. And so like he ends up like punching up through the bottom of Malcolm's plane, like between his legs. And he's trying to help Malcolm, but Malcolm's unconscious. So now he's got to like keep the plane from crashing, or at least allow it to crash safely and not hurt anybody, and extricate Malcolm from it. Which he ends up, he gets like knocked off the plane. He has to fly back up to it, then grab Malcolm, unclip him, and then jetpack both of them out.
Meanwhile, Bigelow, played by Polito, is on the mic down in the airfield with the rest of the people who are watching the show. And he takes over for the announcer because the announcer's like, "Oh my God, everybody clear out for your safety." And he's like, "What are you, crazy? It's all part of the show, folks. All part of the show." And so there's a cameraman filming the Rocketeer, and it's like, you couldn't ask for a better birth of a superhero. Like you got the pending disaster happening, and you got a crowd with a camera crew ready to like capture the heroic feats as it unfolds. It's just beautiful storytelling.
Yeah, having John Polito do that tap dance of like, see, it's all part of the show. Like he keeps having to do that as the situation in the air gets worse and worse, and it's harder and harder to sell, which is really good. So what ends up happening is, of course, the plane crashes safely with no one in it. And Cliff
into his another oil tanker.
Into another oil tanker, right?
All part of the show.
Yeah. And so he drops Malcolm off on this big like parachute looking thing, and he flies away. And there's this flurry of activity as people like drive off in the direction Cliff went. And we get this first flight shot of him just soaring over the clouds and past another plane that he salutes, and then that causes him to fall. Because again, the slightest movement here, he hasn't learned how to really control it yet. And Peeve is following on the ground. And we watch Cliff, he's like at a low enough altitude that he's like crashing through farms and orange groves, and like he ends up skipping like a rock over this water and then bang into like the shore of this pond. And Peeve finds him there.
Cliff! I like it. What in the hell is the matter with you? Are you trying to kill yourself? We don't know how long this thing stays up, how much fuel's in her. If you want to look around, you gotta use your eyeballs. This thing's got a rudder on it. If you turn your head, you change course. You hear what I'm saying? Boy, you banged that up pretty good. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fix that.
Peavy, you can fix anything.
Uh-oh, we got company. Must be the newsboys. You put on quite a show.
They can't find out who we are, Peavy.
Whoever owns this thing is gonna want it back. And I'm just getting the hang of it.
Peavy, put it in neutral.
What?
Put it in neutral! You steer, I'll push!
And it's just this great moment of like, he takes the helmet off. He's like, "I like it. This was fun."
It's another great, another great line reading from Billy Campbell right there. It's like, I like it. Like it's, again, not too many. I feel like a lot of films that try to capture like what is the hero feeling, right? And it's like, this is one of the few that's like, the hero feels exhilaration. This is a high, right? Like, man, that was awesome. We got to do that again. You don't. Some films captured in little moments where like Spider-Man likes to swing, right? Like, you don't really see Batman go like, "Man, this is fucking cool," you know? Like he doesn't really
Batman gets no
revel,
joy out of what he does. Yeah.
no joy. The Rocketeer does, and that's just like a super cool thing.
Well, he does get to do it again briefly because they need to get the hell out of there because the Valentine gang is starting to show up, and Peeve can't start the car. But fortunately, they've got a rocket, so Cliff gets in the back of the truck and just pushes the vehicle with the force of the X3, and they go just tearing off down the road.
Put her in neutral.
Yep. So Otis arrives at his office. He's kind of being hounded by the press, and they're looking for a good name, and he coins the name Rocketeer.
Yes.
And we hear extra as like some short amount of time later, Cliff is buying a newspaper and he's hearing girls, like overhearing them like, "Oh, I wish the Rocketeer would come and rescue me." Like he's like, "Oh, this hero business ain't so bad."
Right.
And Hughes, is looking at this paper and he starts dressing down these FBI guys, basically saying now the X3 is potentially fallen into the wrong hands. He's pissed. And there's definitely some wrong hands about because the FBI knocks on Otis's door to see what they can learn, and they find his office trashed and Otis is dead. But he died managing to write one note, which reads 1635 Palm Terrace.
Yeah. Folded in half like the goon in the hospital. That's kind of the Creeper's signature wrestling move, I guess. Like, all right, thanks for the information. I'm going to now fold you like a sandwich. And that's the end of Bigelow.
Yep. Well, we cut to that sandwich artist. He's got the address, and he's arriving at that address, which turns out to be the house where Peeve and Cliff live. And he's kind of lurking as Peeve grabs a hammer, like he hears like some noises, so he knows something's up. And Lothar turns a knob to open the door just as Cliff comes home to hear a commotion, and he can't get through the door while Peeve is like throwing shit at Lothar. Cliff gets tripped and there's like a scrap, and just as like this fracas is happening, the FBI rolls up on their house and starts just ventilating the place. Because Lothar shoots back at the FBI first, which causes the FBI to then unload on the house. And
yes.
The fact that these three men get out of this house unscathed is shocking given the number of bullets coming into it.
Yeah, my favorite line as a kid was, "It's not a house we have anymore, it's a gazebo." Just remember, like Alan Arkin's dry, deadpan humor delivering that. But they all escape. Also, I want to like Lothar is like super, super strong. Like both Peavy and Cliff. Like Cliff is a big guy, but he is clearly outmatched by Lothar. Jumps on his back. Peavy throws a hammer at him. It just bounces off his chest. Like he's inhumanly strong.
Right. But I should put when Peeve and Cliff leave, they of course have the Rocketeer stuff with them, including the schematic that Peeve has created of the X3 and like his design improvements to it and stuff. So we'll need that.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut to the South Seas Club, which there's this giant scallop shell with a pearl in it that opens up on the stage. You've got a full big band orchestra, and we've got someone singing Begin the Begin, and it is someone you would recognize. It is Melora Hardin singing the song, who you would all know as Jan Levinson Gould from The Office.
When they begin the begin, it brings back the sound of music so tender. It brings back a night of tropical splendor. It brings back a memory evergreen. I'm with you once more under the stars, and out by the shore an orchestra's playing, and even the palms seem
Yeah, I'm always like, why? Like, it's such a like she was doing stuff then, like, and she's doing the movie, but like she's just singing. It's such a unique cameo appearance. Um, when you begin, like, but I'm like, oh, I know who that is. No lines, but just singing a song beautifully.
Yep. So Sinclair and Jenny come in. She is wearing this white, very fancy dress. She looks like $1 million in it. And they sit and they chat a bit before one of Sinclair's movie star chums comes up to talk to them. It is, I forget who the actor is, but he's pretending to be W.C. Fields. And he says he's doubly charmed by Jennifer Connelly's double EDs, I guess, which is, they give you this kind of gratuitous shot because, like, well, yeah, W.C. Fields is a big old horn dog, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Doubly charmed. Yeah, that was a terrible W.C. Fields.
I can't say I have a good one either. But
yeah, doubly charmed. Yeah, it goes into other parody voices, very quickly, but it's a nice like you get Clark Gable, you get him coming in there and like a Clark Gable impersonator, and like it's also, this was filmed at the perfect time where you still had a Clark Gable impersonator, probably just somewhere on Sunset Boulevard, like you still had these people out there to cast randomly for roles like this, which I don't know. I feel like now it'd be a bad CGI situation.
Yeah. You can probably do this with makeup a little bit. How you could. Yeah, you're right. You could do it with AI, which would suck. But there's also another, not a cameo, but blink and you'll miss it because someone calls Sinclair away for an important conversation, and the person who comes over to say, "Hey, Mr. Sinclair, you're needed," is Clint Howard.
Yeah.
No lines. Just, hey, isn't that Clint Howard for literally an eighth of a second? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Just another. It's like who was around the lot, like hey Clint, come here, like we need yeah I can help out.
Scream's scenes were cut is what that tells me. There must have been something he did that was cut.
I feel like the same thing about Melora Hardin, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So Neville Sinclair heads off with Clint Howard to have this conversation while W.C. Fields takes over to hit on Jenny. And Eddie is in Sinclair's office, or I'm sorry, Sinclair goes, this is Eddie's office. He runs this club. And so they're having another kind of tete-a-tete about like how the evil plan is unfolding. And he's kind of pissed that like Sinclair, like his guys are getting shot at and, hurt and looking all over town for this rocket while you're out on a date. And he says, well, that's Secord's girlfriend I'm on a date with. So I'm also, at work here.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie's like, well, my boys will get the truth out of her. And he's like, no, we'll do this my way. And he's like, okay, but your way is getting my guys killed. So again, like his patience with Sinclair is, fairly low.
It's fairly low. And they're threatening each other too. Eddie's like, that was my guy in the hospital that got folded like a sandwich. You touch one of my guys again, I'll kill you. And Neville's like, don't threaten me. It's these guys are literally at each other's throats, and that relationship of convenience it's going to be inconvenient soon.
Well, and he says something. Eddie says something like, I have leverage. I could turn you in, and Sinclair turns that right back on him. He's like, really? Who are they going to believe? The 2-bit hood or the number 3 movie star in America?
The number 3, which I was just like, oh, who's number 1 and 2? Cagney probably, and
Clark Gable. Yeah,
Clark Gable.
Right. And so we cut back to the Bulldog. So we didn't mention this, but the Bulldog Cafe has a literal like giant bulldog. I think like the Cabazon dinosaurs from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like giant bulldog thing, but it's like also architecture. There's like rooms inside of it. And so we go inside the Bulldog, and Cliff and Peeve are holed up in there listening to the radio. And we hear that like Otis's now posthumous voice says, oh, the flying Birdman's going to return or whatever. Who is the Rocketeer? Right. The question on the radio. And Peeve says, okay, now we got to call the FBI and get rid of this rocket. Things are getting too hot. And basically Cliff agrees at the end of this. Because now, they've heard about Otis's death now from Margot Martindale. There's people crawling all over the airfield. And it's like, this has gone too far. And Cliff goes into the diner to make the call, but then these men in suits come in. And what I love about this is whenever men in suits come up, we don't necessarily know right away, like, are these the feds or are these Valentine's guys?
Yeah.
But pretty quickly, these are Valentine's guys by the way they throw their weight around.
Yeah. Literally starts throwing their weight around and throwing things around and ruining delicious pies. And, as they're as they're intimidating, literally grabbing PV, one of the goons grabs PV, is gonna, if they don't give up who Cliff Secord is, and of course Billy Campbell sitting right there, but nobody's giving him up. Like, everybody is as common and every man as everyone in this diner is. They're all still like true blue loyal, come what may. PV is about to get his face smashed into literally the grill of the diner, and there's not an inch of, I'll give up my friend, and nobody else is, and the only thing that saves him is one of the gangsters sees Jenny's phone number written by the common public phone on the wall in the back of the diner, and is like, this is her phone number, it's the same girl, quick, me and this other gangster are gonna go find her, you guys stay here, watch the diner in case she comes back. And because now it's significantly less men in the diner, Cliff and the rest, they, right before Jenny's photo was discovered with Cliff as one of the pilots hanging on in a picture frame hanging on the wall, before the gangsters put two and two together, the gang all jumped the gangsters.
Billy, I'm sorry about all this. I'll fix everything, I promise. Clifford! What's the deal? Nuts. Cliff? No! Not again!
Peavy, half the city is looking for us now. I can fly to that nightclub in 5 minutes and nobody can follow me.
Take a cab. The only place this thing is going is back to the feds. We had an agreement, son!
Look! Peeve, I'm sorry. I should have listened to you from the start. But Jenny's in trouble now. And that girl means more to me than... I love her, Peeve.
Does she know that?
She's gonna find out.
You promised me one thing. When she's safe, this thing goes back.
Brother, you got my word on that. I am sorry I ever laid eyes on this thing.
You might want this.
I'll meet you back here.
Hold on. You're leaking like a sieve here. You must have picked up a ricochet. If you hit that button, we'd be all over the map by now.
Well, can you fix it?
I could have had a couple hours.
Peavy, we don't have a couple of minutes. Come on, we need something quick.
Let's see if our luck's still holding. Come on.
All right, Peavy. Stand clear.
What was that?
And Cliff is able to fight one big gangster by himself, but all other three little guys got to team up on one guy, and they were able to subdue and disarm.
Yeah, it's a good sequence. I think there's also something about the picture. There's a heart with an arrow through it,
yes.
On a distinctive design that they recognize. Okay, this is again putting the clues together. This is Jenny, and this must be Cliff Secord in this picture next to it. Because the guy's literally about to notice the picture, then turn to the left and see the real Cliff standing there after everyone else has said, "Oh, I don't know who Cliff is. Didn't he move to Cincinnati?" They all cover for him. There's this a scuffle which they were able to win because half of these guys went off to the South Seas Club to look for Jenny. And so when they win, they're Cliff basically says, well, I got to get to the club first and rescue her. And there's only one way for me to get to this club faster than anybody else. It's the rocket. And they pull out the rocket. And unfortunately, yes, there was a lot of shooting going on in that house. But what they didn't notice is the rocket took one. There's a hole in it and it's leaking, alcohol or whatever it runs on. And so Cliff uses his magic chewing gum to plug the hole. And basically they're that's going to have to do.
Yeah. And
so he blasts off, and now Peeve is at gunpoint after Cliff takes off and leaves the scene.
And then there's like and Peavy we see a gun like peek through, like there's like an attic in the diner, I guess in the bulldog's head, where Cliff is putting on the jetpack and blasts off. And as Peavy like falls to the ground because of just from the power of the jetpack exhaust, he's held at gunpoint, but we don't know by who yet.
Yes, we'll find that out in a minute. But for now, we're heading back to the South Seas Club for Neville and Jenny to share a magical dance on the dance floor. But first, this is like him, again, using his powers as a movie star, because he starts dancing with her and there's no music. And he's like, oh, well, I hear music. And eventually it's like, he's able to get the orchestra to hop to and back him up.
Yeah.
Cliff goes in the back and he stashes the rocket in like this laundry room and inside like a laundry bag, and heads into the club dressed as a waiter. And so he spots Jenny and Sinclair after their dance is over, and he comes over to like serve them, and she's like smart enough to not give it away.
Is it something I said?
No, it's nothing.
Oh, Jenny, I know that look all too well. Is it your boyfriend?
I'm sorry, Neville. It's just that Cliff and I talked about coming here so many times.
Tell me about him. At least give me a chance to know the competition.
Well, he's a little rough around the edges. He can be pretty thoughtless sometimes. And then he can turn around and be the sweetest guy in the world. He gave me these little oranges when we first met.
Oh, how nice.
My family has a small farm, and Cliff was coming through our town dusting the groves.
He's a flyer.
Yeah, flies racing planes, like this one. At least he did until yesterday. He was almost killed.
What happened? We didn't order anything. Go on.
Yes, sir. He was a fan of yours. Sent some soup over.
Go on. You were saying...
It was very silly. He completely missed the runway. I don't know why the real pilots even let him fly.
I see. At least I'm beginning to feel a bit better about the competition.
You worked here long.
Oh, yes. I waited on you last time.
She lets him kind of do his thing. And she asks, Sinclair says, gee, you look sad. It has something to do with something I said. It's like, oh, it's my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Cliff and I talked about him coming here so many times. He's a little rough around the edges, thoughtless. She shows this bracelet that he gave her with oranges on it. It's all part of their cute, meet cute. And he's serving soup to them.
Yeah. He put a little secret letter for only that she could see in the bottom of the soup bowl, like meet me by the big fish tank or something. And that's how she sees that it's him. Neville has no idea what Cliff looks like. And he's clearly... The other thing that I really love about this is Neville isn't just trying to get information from Jenny. He's also clearly attracted to her and is like, hey, if I can... two birds, one stone, you know what I mean? He's thinking that. So he's really upset that Cliff is messing with his flow, so to speak, as he's, trying to woo the hand of Jenny.
Well, he says something to Cliff, like, don't I know you? And Cliff's like, I waited on you the last time you were here. You must not remember me. Yeah,
Billy, very funny. I feel like some actors would be really stiff or just would don't know how to play the funny lightness of this character the way Billy does,
Absolutely, yeah. He also is he's smart enough to I'm going to spill some water on Jenny that will give her the opportunity to excuse herself from the table so I can talk to her one-on-one, which is exactly what happens. He kind of pulls her behind some foliage, the plants in the nightclub, and he basically starts trying. It's part of this thing where they're both talking at the same time, and the information's not getting across. Then he finally has to go look, Otis is murdered. I'm the Rocketeer. Get in this cab. Go find a cab. Get in it. Drive to your mom's house. Who's I forget what city she's in, but far away from L.A.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
What are you doing
Will
here?
you just listen to me for
You're
a minute?
jealous. You found out that I was here with Neville and
No,
you said...
I'm not jealous. Listen, Jenny, Bigelow's been murdered.
Murder?
You remember at the studio what I told you about the rocket we found? Well, the people that are looking for it murdered Bigelow to get to me. And now they're after you. They have your picture, the one from the GB. Jenny, prepare yourself for a shock. I'm the Rocketeer.
The Rocket who?
Oh, for crying out loud, haven't you read the papers?
No, I've been working all day.
But look, it's them. The guys with the snapshot. You gotta get out of here. I want you to get in a cab right now, go to your mom's in Redlands, and stay there until you hear from me, okay?
Give me one good reason why I should believe any of this.
Because if anything ever happened to you, I'd go out of my mind. I swear I would.
Oh.
You know, just get the hell out of here because this is dangerous. And she says, why should I believe you? And she says, because if anything happened to you, I'd go out of my mind. And he kisses her. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. It's a sweet moment. And, you know, kind of a question, even PV like bugs everybody, you know, this family, airfield family, you know, right before he leaves to fly off to go save Jenny, he says to, you know, when PV's like berating him, like, we got to return this back to the proper owners and to the feds. And he's like, I can't. He's like, yes, we're going to do that. I don't want this jetpack anymore, but I need it to save Jenny because I love her. Right. And PV says, does she know that? And like, it's the flaw of this character is like, you know, he's a good guy. He doesn't always say the right thing or say the thing that he needs to. In this moment, he says it. Yeah. And Jenny hears it. And yeah, it's a sweet moment.
So she leaves. She follows the instructions. She heads out of the restaurant. Unfortunately, Sinclair finds the note in the soup. And so as Cliff kind of watches Sinclair talking to the goons, like basically saying like hop to, Lothar arrives at the club just as Jenny's kind of walking out of it. And so Cliff runs into Lothar, who pursues him, and Sinclair sticks his goons on him. So Cliff ducks through the kitchen and he rips out kind of like a fire exit. He rips the waiter outfit out and he goes into the laundry. And this is a great bit of comics. Like, he's going to go put on the Rocketeer stuff. But he gets in there, and where there was once one bag of laundry that had the Rocketeer stuff in it, there's now like 14 other bags that look just like it.
Yes.
And the guys are beating down the door. So that's a fun bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he has to dive in and he has to literally dive into this, like, you know, pile of laundry bags to find his jetpack. And by the time they break down the door, you see Cliff's, like, he wears these, like, kind of very identifiable, iconic, like, long boots.
Jodhpurs, I think they're called, or something like that.
What are they called?
Oh, the boots. I think the pants are called like Jodhpurs or something like that.
Yeah, he wears Jodhpurs, like those pantaloons, like they stick out at the sides. Mm-hmm. Every time you see like someone who's like in sitcoms, and anytime someone had to direct something, like, yes. All right, we're directing a play, and then they wear the director's like that cartoon outfit of the monocle, the beret, and those Jodhpurs pants with big boots, riding boots. And you see Cliff in his riding boots dangling from the dumbwaiter of...
He's in the bottom of it, yeah.
He's in the bottom of it, and they're like, oh, we can grab him. And then a cool effect of like, you see the butt exhaust of the jetpack, which means he's taking off.
Yeah, he flies up through it, out the other, the upper end of the dumbwaiter, which sends him like rocketing through the club and into like the main chamber of this club, where he's sort of flying around, kind of awkwardly through the club, over the tables, knocking things over, which creates a commotion that draws Jenny back into the club to go see what's going on. And just as like Lothar is about to strike Cliff, Jenny knocks him out from behind, clocks him over the head real good. And it seems like Cliff is surrounded, but he decides to go up and away out the glass roof of this building and straight up into the sky.
Yeah. It's not a pulp superhero. It's not a pulp superhero unless the character crashes through the sky roof, like the sky roof of some building.
That's what skylights are for in movies. They're made to be either on the way down or on the way up.
Yes, you got to do it.
But he did not do what he did with Malcolm. He didn't grab Jenny and fly up with her. He left her on the ground, and she is chloroformed by Sinclair. We cross fade from like the mountains that Cliff is flying over. This really kind of nice transition to what looks like mountains, but we realize they're sheets. They're like the folds of bed sheets. And Jenny wakes up in Sinclair's bed, still fully clothed. And she kind of walks around the bedroom for a little bit, and she notices out a window she can see into another part of the apartment where Sinclair uses one of the classic bookshelf secret passage. You pull out a book and then the thing moves. So she sees that's there. And she runs back to her bed to lie down to play, continue to play possum. And Sinclair comes in with a decanter and a little bit of smelling salts to wake her back up. And then we get some more repartee between them as she's like, "Oh yeah, did you drug all your women?" Really nice.
Yeah. Apparently this Neville Sinclair, I guess in another world, is a mentor of Bill Cosby and other creeps. But yeah, and they're back in that creepy house, and it's really distracting for me now to watch that scene, knowing what I know. But he's still, even though he has done this and the mask has slipped off a little bit, he's still trying to be suave. But Jenny is also smart, and is still playing the situation now, knowing the stakes, knowing that Cliff is this Rocketeer, and knowing like, oh, there's real danger here. Let me play this. Let me play into Neville's ego.
Once the chloroform, the effects will pass in a moment.
Do you have to drug all your women to seduce them? You're part of this. You kidnapped me.
Against my will, believe me. I'm as much a victim as you are. They're blackmailing me. These are brutal, ruthless men, Jenny.
No, I'm scared.
Oh, there. Don't be frightened. And tonight when we danced, I felt something move inside me. I felt it tear loose and take flight.
You said that to Greta Garbo. Napoleon's mistress.
But you'd have been a fantastic Lady Catherine if you'd put yourself completely into my hands. I could teach you, mold you into a leading lady. Clay in the hands of the master sculptor.
Moonlight on Broadway. Carol Lombard. The scene on the top of the Empire State Building.
Yes. Look, you can't be comfortable in that gown.
Yeah, he tries to cover and say, like, I'm just as much a victim as you are. They're blackmailing me. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm under duress, right? He tries to comfort her by, saying some romantic lines to her, which she correctly calls out each time. Like, that's from one of your movies, that line.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, eating away at, like, yeah, you're not as suave as you think you are. It's stolen valor in terms of hitting on women.
Exactly. You start to see the seams of this character. Like, oh, actually isn't an expensive suit. It's kind of cheap. Which I think is just another great layer of a villain like this.
Well, he offers her some clothes. Like, here, let me get you a change of clothes. He's got a closet full of women's clothes. Like, very suspicious. For him to have, like, who do these belong to? Past conquests, past victims. Like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Not explained. But she, as you said, tries to play the situation. She's, oh, would you just come help me unzip my dress or whatever? And then as he's leaning down to do it, she hits him over the head with a vase.
Before that moment, it's a very funny, like Timothy Dalton, like you pointed out in Hot Fuzz, has not done nearly enough comedy. But there's a very funny moment where like she asks him for help and he's just like right there. Like, oh, could you help me? And he's like, oh yes, I've been here the whole time. It's a very like funny moment that Timothy Dalton makes use of.
Yeah, no, she says after she knocks him out, she goes, I finally played a scene with Neville Sinclair.
Zips up her dress. Yeah.
Zips the dress right back up. And so she's trying to slip out, but she notices Lothar's down like a one floor below, sitting by the fire. She's like, I can't go that way. So she heads off to the room with the bookshelf, and she's like, I'll go out the secret passage. So she tries a few books. She notices a book. It's The Conquest of Casanova. Ha ha. And so she pulls that, and she goes inside to find it's a war room. There's plans and maps and things, including the schematics for the X3, which she notices that the schematics have by A. Peabody, which means Peeve. That's Peeve's name. And so she folds that up, shoves it down her cleavage to hide it. And then she activates a radio thinking she can call for help. And unfortunately, the voice on the other end of the radio is speaking German, or at least a heavy German accent. I can't remember.
Yes, sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Yep. And then if that didn't do it for you, she finds a notebook with a swastika on it. Get it?
Yes. And then if that didn't do it for you, Neville and Lothar catch her in her Scooby-Doo act. And, Neville's now got, ice on his wounded head, and Lothar behind him, and he makes it explicit. The mask is fully off. Yes, I, Neville Sinclair, saboteur. He throws in a few descriptive names.
He goes, spy, saboteur, fascist, all of the above.
Fascist, all above, yes. And yeah, our Neville Sinclair is a Nazi.
Yep. And then they do a very old school Hollywood thing where she screams as Lothar, looms over her, and they fade to black, very, Fay Ray, King Kong.
Yeah, very, very 1930s cliffhanger. 1930s cliffhanger ending right there. I love it.
Yep. So we watch Cliff. He sneaks back to the Bulldog, stashes the gear, the Rocketeer stuff in an alley trash can. And he looks for Millie and Peeve and everybody else. There's no one there except this kid, Patsy, the one who had the toy plane earlier. And the phone rings and he answers it. And it's Eddie. And he's told to bring the rocket to Griffith Observatory alone, or they will have to kill Jenny. And Patsy, this little girl, wants to know what's going on. And Cliff snaps at her for a second. And then he's like, okay, well, sorry about that. I'm a good person. Sorry for yelling at a kid. So remember the guy who saved Jenny? The guy who, the Rocketeer, basically. He's going to go help save Jenny. Not me. This Rocketeer guy is going to do it.
Yeah.
But the FBI bursts in at that moment.
Yes. Then we cut back to
Howard Hughes, and we found out that whoever had the gun to Peeve was also working with Howard Hughes, because they are just talking shop like two little kids having the best time at a sleepover.
Yeah, they're two aviators having a great conversation about and Peavy clearly has some upgrades on the X3. He's talking shop with and impressing Howard Hughes, and they bring in Cliff. And if you didn't know this was a Disney movie, this is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. This scene makes it clear that this is a Disney movie because we get an animation. It's a great little animation, but we get the backstory of, we get a little bit more of the backstory of why Howard Hughes is so afraid, but also he's also clearly impressed by Cliff. Howard is the FBI, they're a little rough around the edges, but Howard's oh, I see myself in this guy, and you know how to fly this thing, but sadly, son, I'm going to need it back because, we are fighting, fascists who are intent on taking over the whole world. If you don't believe me, take a look at this cartoon. Right. See what happens if Nazis get jetpacks.
Right. That's exactly what it is. Because Hughes is basically telling him, look, we need this back. We can't let the Nazis get their hands on it. You're out of your depth again, and here's how I know. Here's this news. He mentions people died to get this newsreel out of Germany. And it's an animation. It's entitled. One interesting thing about this movie is for all the German you get in it, either written or verbal, as we'll see a lot more of it later, there are no subtitles. They just trust you to kind of get what you need to get. I think it would be interesting to know exactly what the German stuff is. So here we see the film strip. It's called Ein neuer Anfang, German for a new beginning. And as you see, it's animation of Nazis with jetpacks, arrows representing their, war effort around the world, including across the ocean to America. We get, the flag, the Capitol building on fire, the flag on fire. And it says, Heute Europa, morgen die Welt. Today Europe, tomorrow the world. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So we get it. Nazis will help them win the war and conquer the world. Or the jetpack will help them do that.
And before the cartoon plays, you get a quick clip of the Nazis. Apparently, many Bothans died trying to get this, this information. You get this little clip, newsreel clip of the Nazis testing their own jetpack, which is defective, and the Nazi pilot explodes, before even really getting off the ground.
The Nazi pilot who explodes is Dan Stevens, the creator of the Rocketeer.
Yes.
Thank you I would have forgotten it, yeah.
Great moment, and a great, I can't imagine, as a comic book creator of the superhero, you've kind of written yourself, who is based on you, you've kind of written yourself into it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
As a fan of comic books, an amateur comic book artist myself, as a film writer and actor, I don't know. Hat tip to Dave Stevens.
So Hughes lays down again, where's my rocket pack?
Where's my rocket pack, Secord?
You gotta let me use it one more time.
I'm tired of square dancing with you, kid. I can slap you with grand theft, treason, espionage, and that's just my short list.
Willie, give me the cuffs. No, look, they got my girl.
Oh, God, Cliff, no.
Yeah, they set up a rendezvous. They want to swap Jenny for the rocket.
Look, kid, I understand how you feel, but you've got to let us handle this.
I gotta go alone or they're gonna kill her. I'll give your rocket back. Tomorrow, I swear.
Hey, this ain't negotiation. Those guys are playing for keeps.
I can handle Valentine.
The Valentine gang is only hired muscle. They're working for a Nazi agent. Someone we think is highly placed in Hollywood society. Someone our intrepid G-men have been unable to identify.
It's Neville Sinclair.
What?
It's Neville Sinclair.
Come on.
Yeah, sure, it makes perfect sense. That's why he was bossing Eddie's men around at the South Seas Club. That's why he has Jenny.
Nice try, kid. We're taking him downtown and we're locking him up.
We'll take it from here, Mr. Hughes. Let's go, kid.
Hey!
No guns!
And Cliff says, I gotta use it one more time because they've got my girlfriend and I gotta go rescue her. And Cliff says, well, you can handle the Valentine gang. And Hughes says, well, they're hired muscle for a Nazi agent. They're working for somebody. He thinks someone high in Hollywood. And Cliff says, it's got to be Neville Sinclair, which people are, skeptical of. And he basically says, well, fuck this. So Cliff punches the agent and he jumps over the balcony to this model of what aviation nerds would recognize as the Spruce Goose. This humongous plane that Howard Hughes built and got to fly for all of 10 seconds before it's a seaplane. It lands back in the water.
Yeah.
But it's funny that Cliff rides this thing gliding out of the hangar and Hughes goes it will fly.
Yeah.
Not great. It will not fly well. I've seen it, by the way. It's I don't know if they still have it at the Port of Long Beach here in Southern California, but at least for a long time they had it. And you go into this dome and look at the Spruce Goose.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, and the Aviator, the end of Martin Scorsese's The Aviator, it's Leo playing Howard. Does fly it, but like you said, doesn't fly very well.
And they just kind of gave up on it after that.
Yeah, I remember not. So I knew enough to know, okay, they're referencing something when I saw it in 91 with my dad. And my dad, he filled me in on the story. He's like, oh, the Spruce Goose. And I was like, oh, cool. I don't know. It just made me, it was one of those things that endeared the movie to me even more. I was like, oh, this stuff really, they took stuff from real life and really tied it in with this film. And I remember thinking that was just really smart and cool.
And tied to one of my favorite Simpsons jokes, the Spruce Moose. But we'll save that because we talked about that enough on the Simpsons podcast. Okay, so we cut to the Griffith Observatory, one of my favorite Southern California landmarks. And as a kid, like, I was excited. I've been there. Like, I love that place. It's cool. They've got, planets and stuff in there. And so, but they don't shoot inside the observatory. They're all like in kind of this big open area that's just in front of the observatory. That's where they're hanging out at night. And Eddie's there. Lothar and Sinclair roll up with Jenny, and he says, "Oh, put this jacket on," or whatever. She says, "I'd rather freeze," and he says, "You're right. I'd prefer you like that." She's like, so she puts on the coat. Cover up them curves because you don't want them looking at you. And he tells Eddie, "Cheer up, you're about to make a fortune." And they watch as Cliff approaches aerially and lands, as the Rocketeer. And he takes off the helmet and walks up and makes sure Jenny's okay. And she says, "I'm fine." And Sinclair says, "Take the rocket off." He says, "Let her go." And Sinclair puts a gun to her instead and says, "I insist." Yeah. So Cliff he pulls off the helmet, of course, and he's taking off the rocket pack at the moment. And he looks over to Eddie and, in a very smart move, says, "So, Eddie, are they paying you in dollars or Deutschmarks?"
The rocket, Secord.
Come on, kid, hand it over so we could all go home.
What's it like working for a Nazi, Eddie? Huh? They pay you in dollars or Deutschmarks?
What's he talking about?
Oh, yeah, I got it straight from the feds, Eddie. Nazi spy ring, flying commandos, the works.
Kid's been flying with the ass too thin.
Ask him about the secret room. Ask him about the Germans on the radio.
Relax, Frankenstein. You ain't bulletproof.
Talk fast, Sinclair.
You tell him, Eddie.
Shut up!
Oh, come on, Eddie. I'm paying you well. Does it matter who I work for?
It matters to me. I may not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American. And I don't work for no two-bit Nazi. Let it go.
Sturmabteilung! Angreifen!
And Eddie then asks, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
Says, "Well, didn't you know Sinclair is a Nazi? That's who you're working for." Ask him about, Jenny's yelling about it too. Like, right, ask him about the secret room and the Germans on the radio and stuff. And what I love about this is that Eddie doesn't think, well, maybe they're just it's a ploy. He's immediately like, the fuck is this? Like, he's smart enough to recognize, no wonder this guy wants a rocket so bad.
I may not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American. Only delivered as Paul Sorvino could deliver it. It's a great moment where, like, all right, well, this, there are levels to this. He's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. Like, they're bad, like the Nazis are bad guys. And again, this movie drives home a point that should be very obvious for the American public. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. No, it's a really wonderful moment. Like, because Eddie's kind of an endearing character, and he's been put upon this whole movie by having, like, Sinclair constantly, give him shit. And so for him to turn around and basically be like, "Hey, I may not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American, and I don't work for no two-bit Nazis." And all of a sudden, all of the goons, like, train their guns on Eddie or Sinclair.
Yeah.
But just when you think but there's one more.
Yeah.
Well, suck a dick. Yeah. There's one more. There's one more turn to this, though, because Sinclair shouts out in German at a whole bunch of Nazis that were just hiding in the bushes. Not sure what the long game was, but they're there. And so now it's, kind of evens the odds. You've got a whole bunch of Nazis against the American gangsters with Tommy guns. And yeah.
And it's a great I guess the term is Mexican showdown before the Nazis get there, but then another turn where, like, the FBI
rolls up,
and the FBI then team up with Eddie Valentine's gangsters to take on the Nazi army, as out of nowhere above the observatory, a huge like mothership of a Nazi blimp appears in the sky. That Neville and some very classic looking Nazis use as their escape.
Yeah, well, they managed to get the X3 from Cliff, so they've got it. They head up to the blimp, and Cliff, sorry, floodlights appear. The FBI's there, right? Sorry, they didn't get the X3 from Cliff. Secord like rockets down a hill with a Nazi. Like they go down this like slope, and like it's just a firefight as Sinclair grabs Jenny, heads up to the blimp. And there you can hear them saying, don't shoot the Zeppelin. It is a giant explosive balloon. And so the FBI, it advances on them, but they're up into so Sinclair, Lothar, and Jenny are all in the blimp. Sinclair yells at the captain, hey, get us out of range. Let's go. But he's like, where's the rocket? And he's like, we've got the girl. The rocket's going to come to us. And which is what happens. Yes. Cliff grabs the gun from the Nazi who he went over this hill with, as the FBI and Valentine's gang fight together, and Cliff spots the Zeppelin leaving, so he runs up the stairs. Why he runs up the stairs to the top of the observatory, not really necessary. He's going to fly from wherever he is anyway. But it's cool because we get this hero shot of him in the Rocketeer, like full garb, in front of a giant American flag. And like, it looks just, again, splash page of a comic. It's so good.
Look, it's still my favorite moment. Like, I'm just like, I know it's goofy, it's corny, it's propaganda. I understand, as a black man, the United States of America and Americana propaganda is not my favorite thing. But in this moment, in this specific film, when Cliff stands in front of the flag and then takes off, and we cut back to Eddie Valentine and the gangsters looking at Cliff fly up to the blimp heroically, and you see this gangster who went from heel turn to now good guy goes, go get him, kid. Like it's like, yeah, we're all cheering for the good guy. Like we're rooting for the good guy. Like there aren't moments like that. Too many moments like that in a movie where you're like, nah, go kick these dudes' ass. Like I'm on your side. It's such a cool moment.
It works really well, and in terms of like the patriotism and the poignancy of that moment, I think, like I said, like this was the perfect director, Joe Johnston, to do Captain America, at least the first Captain America movie, because what makes Chris Evans's Captain America work so fucking well, that like the flag they planted in that movie that carried that character through his arc in the MCU, is this thing that Joe Johnston is so able to do, which is like, you're right, Tarik, this isn't the America we've got, but that's the America we want and that we think we're supposed to have. And so anytime we're reminded of the distance between where we're at and that, it's like, yeah, that's what America's supposed to fucking be. Right. And so like you feel like the emotion of that, because that's the America we're promised.
Yeah.
And so Cliff rockets up there. And just kind of like with the plane rescue at the beginning, like he gets to the blimp, but then he ends up like kind of like sliding right off it. Like this is not easy. And so he as he does that, he actually tears the tail of the blimp a bit, which is, we'll see in a minute, like they're having trouble steering it inside because of that. And so then there's this like Nazi in charge, and he's yelling at Sinclair, about that. Meanwhile, Cliff gets to this trap door that's at the top of the blimp, and he's about to open it when it pops open on its own, and it's Lothar. And they have a fight up there that ends when Lothar, like there's enough wind and nonsense going up there that like the wind blows off his hat. And when he goes to get it, like Cliff kicks him in the balls, which does nothing. Just balls of steel. But then Lothar whacks Cliff with this big wrench and he goes rolling. But at that point, he flies up off from the other side of the blimp. He goes down off one side of the blimp, flies up the other side, and uses the power of the rocket to knock Lothar over. And he's like on like a cable, and he's just like kind of swinging off the side of the blimp, kind of just crashing into the glass for the cabin underneath where everybody else is.
Yeah. Another moment of comedy. I think Timothy Dalton just like affectionately goes, Lothar. Like, just seeing his buddy hanging in there. But yeah, like Cliff doesn't really have a plan. Like it's him versus this Nazi blimp when super strong, Nazi bad guy Lothar, but like he gets the best of Lothar, gets into the blimp to rescue Jenny, and has his confrontation with um Neville Sinclair inside the blimp, uh who, has Jenny at gunpoint and forces Cliff to remove the X3 and slide it over.
I've had a belly full of you and your cheap heroics. Hand over the rocket or I'll blow her brains.
All of us a cabin.
No, don't give it to him, Cliff. You can't.
I have to. Herr Captain!
Slide it.
If she moves, kill her.
Yeah, there's a great moment where they talk about they're losing altitude, and we have to drop some weight, and so Sinclair just shoots that kind of officious Nazi and kicks him right out the window for the fatherland, which is very funny.
For the fatherland, yes.
Sinclair is holding a gun to Jenny and basically says, "I'll blow her brains out unless you give me the X3." And she's like, don't do it, Cliff. Don't. He's like, "Fine, I'll give it to you." And he takes it off, and we notice that just as he takes it off and puts it on the ground, he uses his thumb to slide the magic gum off the bullet hole ever so slightly. And he gives it to him, and he says, this is funny. He says, like, oh, Jenny gets a shot in there too, because when he goes to pick up the rocket, Jenny steps on some other Nazi's foot that's holding her, and then kicks him again out the side of the blimp, off to a tumble of however many miles down it is to the surface. We get a nice bit of repartee again. "Where's your stunt man, Sinclair?" And he says, "I do my own stunts."
Yeah. The thing that's funny about this fight is Cliff loses. Like, Neville Sinclair got hands. Like, he can fight. Like, and it's James Bond, right? So it's like, it's like, we all know Timothy Dalton is James Bond, so like Billy Campbell was, I think, a relative unknown. He had done some TV stuff, but this was, I think, his big break in terms of being a movie star. So when the hero of the movie loses, he loses to James Bond, and the audience, like, at least for me, I was just like, yeah, I buy it. It's James Bond. Like, I'm not gonna buy you winning your first fight against this guy who we all know, took out Robert Davi and Benicio del Toro and Living Daylights, so anyway, I just think it's funny. It's like you don't see the good guy actually lose to the bad guy too often.
Yeah, and again, he's banking on ultimately what's going to happen later, right? So he doesn't need to win this fight. But Jenny causes an added complication because when Sinclair has Cliff kind of on the ropes, she grabs the gun and shoots it, and she doesn't hit anything, but her ricochet starts a fire, which, as we know, of course, inside the blimp is bad news. And so Cliff is like asking Sinclair, like, "Help me put this out." And he finally says, he drops even his accent. Now he's got a German accent. He says, "I wish I could take you with me."
For God's sake, Sinclair, help us get these flames out.
Goodbye, Jenny. I wish I could take you with me.
Everything about you is a lie.
It wasn't lies, Jenny. It was acting. I miss Hollywood.
I don't think so.
And she says, everything about you was lies. He said, it wasn't lies. It was acting. I'm like, oh, yes. Thank you. Great.
Yes.
Again, always panache with this guy. And he straps on the X3 and we can see, what's about to happen. They give you all the clues in the world, what's about to happen. And he takes off and he says, I'll miss all of you. And Cliff says, I don't think so. And of course, as expected, it bursts into flames. And he crashes in a fireball into the Hollywood Land sign, turning it into the modern Hollywood sign without the LAND on it.
My second favorite part of the film. Jenny and Cliff and Lothar are still survivors on this blimp that is exploding. Jenny and Cliff make their way to the top of the balloon, but like the jetpack's gone, so they're trying to figure out how they are going to get, how they're going to survive, how they're going to get off this thing that is exploding, and there's this wall of fire coming behind them as they run away from the explosion. And Lothar, who is still connected to a cable, the cable runs out of slack and he can't go any further. So he is about to be engulfed in flame. And it's a really sad, pathetic death for this big, very jarred big man. He's just kind of like hands up and he can't really do anything about his impending doom. And at that moment, a very interesting looking flying machine that's an airplane and helicopter comes out of nowhere with a ladder and hanging from it, and right in the nick of time, Cliff and Jenny grab onto the ladder and they see their buds Peavy and Howard Hughes flying. What is it, gyroplane, or I think that's what it's called, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what this thing is. It looks more like a plane than anything else, but it's got some other bells and whistles on it. Yeah, and so we get some great evocative shots of them flying away from the wreckage and the swastika in flames. And we go to outside the Bulldog. Peeve is reading the newspaper about Sinclair being killed by flaming debris. He gets they cover for him in the papers, I guess, or maybe nobody really knew.
Yeah.
And Jenny notes that Cliff looks a little sad, and he says, well, I got the cracked ribs to prove it. And he says, well, you got me. And they kiss, so everything's good. And there's a sound outside, and it's the sound of a plane taxiing in the street out in front of the Bulldog, and it's Hughes. And he basically says, look, in another month, it'll be ready for nationals. And he takes Cliff aside, and he says, what was it like flying the X3? And he says, it was the closest I'll ever get to heaven. And Hughes goes, well, maybe not. And he looks over at Jenny. And he says, see you around, Rocketeer. Don't ever fly her without this. And he tosses him some gum. And we understand the plane is a gift to Cliff for him to use to fly in the competition that he missed out on or was not going to get to do. And Hughes drives off and he goes, oh, I didn't even get a chance to thank him. And Peeve says, well, you saw the look on his face. That's probably enough. And Jane has a gift for Cliff. Well, it's not actually for Cliff. It's technically for Peeve. It is the schematics to the X3 that she hid in her bra, which will now enable them to reconstitute the thing for future adventures.
You got it. I didn't even get a chance to thank him.
You don't have to, son. He saw the look on your face.
Cliff, I have something for you, too. Actually, it's for Peavy.
Oh, no.
What was that line again? Oh, my prince.
Would that you drink of my lips.
Thanks. I don't mind if I do.
Clifford, take a look at this here. Here, look. I bet if we increase the manifold pressure up about 25% and then switch the fuel to air ratio, just favoring the fuel, just a little. Hey, Goose, you want to take a look at here?
Rocketeer to the rescue!
And then they kiss, and that's basically the end of the movie.
Yes. Yeah, it should have been the beginning of many, many sequels. Like Devil in the Blue Dress. I don't know if we talked about that film either.
We've mentioned it.
That's
Yeah,
also
it's
one of
come
my
up.
favorite films ever. We've mentioned it. Like the '90s was audiences were there for some franchises and just not there for others that they should have been there for. The Rocketeer is one of those movies where I'm like, it could have just, you could have kept going. Like, um, I know there have been many attempts to make a sequel, and I heard one attempt that I thought was really sad because it answers a conundrum we brought up earlier of kind of the end of Cliff Secord's tenure as the Rocketeer. He passes the mantle down to a Tuskegee Airman
I saw
who
that.
I
Yeah,
just
that's
wanted
a
to say,
great
well,
idea.
that's talking about the America that we should be. Like that, to me, like that, to me, that would have been, of course, the best way to carry on the franchise of like, oh yeah, who else than like a masked flying guy that people love in the sky until he like lands and removes the helmet, right? Like, um, anyway, I'm a big fan of the Rocketeer. If others are fans of the movie, I highly recommend a few of the books. There's a great Rocketeer comic in stands right now. Rocketeer the Island, where it's Rocketeer and Popeye and a bunch of other like Tintin and a bunch of other these pulpy characters from the 30s and adventures going 30 pulp adventures all in one book. But yeah, I love the character.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't do more with it. They did create like a series on like a Disney Junior type thing for little kids, which is not.
Yeah.
I know that Billy Campbell voices Cliff Secord in it, but I don't think he's the main character. It's
No,
some
no.
other characters. I never watched it, but I just know that it exists. So I'm glad there's at least something out there. But yeah, you're right. This franchise didn't get the love it deserves because this film is great. Like it is a ride from beginning to end. It's perfectly constructed. It gives you everything you could want out of an adventure film. It's fun. It's funny. The characters are, they pop off the screen. The bad guys are monsters, but they're suave and fun. The heroes are the best looking people you've ever seen. Like, it's got everything. So yeah, Tarik, here we are at the end. The Rocketeer's legacy hasn't been the longest or biggest, expansive legacy, but I do think there is a sizable group of people out there that feel the way we do about this thing, that like, if you never got to watch it back in its day, you missed out on something, and it's sitting there on Disney Plus. Like, it's easy to get to. Yeah. What is it about this movie that has made it, something you've, carried with you? As you said, one of your like top 5 movies ever since 1991.
I mean, I think you say like it's one like the America that we should be, right? It's just there's a warm blanket quality of the good guys are good guys, the bad guys are bad guys. Um, and in this world where Lord knows the good guys don't always win. Lord knows where it seems the bad guys are gaining more and more momentum and power and warping our sense of reality and our sense of self. To have something that kind of stands firmly um, and proudly in its identity, like the Rocketeer wears itself literally like how do I look? Like a hood ornament. Great. Great. I want to look like a hood ornament. It's not about cool. It's not about slickness. It's about joy and play. How did it feel to fly? I like it. Closest thing to heaven. Like that, that's why to me, Indiana Jones absolutely is a one-to-one comparison, but for me as well as it's the natural, um, which is about the joy of the game and like that joy is supposed to thing that separated us as Americans. Like we separated from the rest of the world. No dispersion of the rest of the world. Have lived in other places, and I definitely don't think America is the greatest country. But let me keep cooking and just say like a thing that made us at one point an envy was that embrace of kind of improvisational joy. Hey, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm following my bliss. I'm following my love. I'm jumping out into the sky and seeing what happens. And that call to adventure is the thing that we're supposed to continue to follow. And we've lost our way a little bit. And we've lost our compass, our North Star. The Rocketeer is flying right towards it. And to me, that's the direction I think we should all fly into as well.
I couldn't say it any better than that, man. So thanks for bringing this to the show. Like, you always pick such great stuff. And like, I'm so glad we have a chance to talk about this for its 35th anniversary. So, Tarik, if people want to find you and your awesome stuff, where do they go and what is it they can find and how do they get it?
Likewise. When I say likewise, I love being on this podcast, talking movies with you. It's truly a blast every time you bring me on, Doug, to talk about movies. So I thank you for that. You can find me at Tarik R. Davis on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, and all the other good stuff. That was a Freudian slip. Because we've been talking about the Rocketeer.
How about your short film? Or films, plural, I should say.
Yes, my short films, plural. Yes, I got a new short film out there. We are jockeying for our film festival screen debut. So stay tuned for that.
What's it called?
Yeah,
that is.
The name of the short film is We're Not in Harlem Anymore. It's a short film, proof of concept for a feature film that I am gearing up to try to make. And so we're very proud of it. It also takes place in 1938. And
it's a proper noir story. It looks awesome.
Proper noir, yeah.
Yeah, black and white.
Thank you so much, man. Black and white detective story, yeah. We're very proud of it.
Very cool. And of course, I'll put links to like the trailer for that and the your other film doc in the show notes. So you can check that out because that's also really cool. Very different vibe, but an amazing kind of sci-fi time travel thing, which is cool. If you want to get in touch with us, you can go to all the social media places and just look for the word nostalgia, and that'll get you what you need because that word doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. I've got 2 other podcasts going aside from this one. I've got Playing by Ear, which is a music podcast I do with my wife and brother-in-law, and sometimes guests. We'll take an album and just work our way through it track by track and break down the music, which is a lot of fun. And then the other show I'm doing is called Still Muppeting. That's Patreon joint. You got to go to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and drop a handful of bucks into the machine to get that podcast once a month. I do that with my buddy Josh Koval from the Still Loading podcast. So once a month, as you can tell by the name, we do a different Jim Henson thing. This month it's Labyrinth for its 40th anniversary. So we're covering that. Again, more Jennifer Connelly if you didn't get enough of her here. So super excited. That's one of my favorite movies, like top 5 of all time. So
nice.
Can't wait for you all to hear that.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. So that'll do it for this. Oh, of course, if you have time, for any podcast you listen to, drop a review. If you haven't done it yet, please do it. I can see you. I know you're not doing it. No, please do it because it helps the algorithm that helps more people find the podcast, as does, of course, word of mouth. Post about it on social media. Tell people. Spread the word. That's very, very much appreciated for anybody who does that. So thank you. Oh, so we're here at the end, man. Tarik, thanks again for The Rocketeer. What a gift to talk about this movie.
Thank you. So fun. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. All right. So until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgia Arcanum.
I'm up for free speech and a pacifist. Inside your hatred, we're gonna tears. Don't want no goose step, don't want to Kyle. I'm gonna smack you and take away that smile. Punching auntie in the face, 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 yeah, punching auntie in the face, punching auntie in the face, punching auntie in the face, punching auntie in the face.